So we're going to start with sign in. So we're going to create a function. So when we actually sign in, we send the request. We want to call this function. We want to just say on sign in when this function is called. I'm going to pass that to our button. But our button doesn't actually handle that yet. We'll have to update it, and we'll have to get it to accept an onPress param. And then onPress is equal to onPress. Save that, and then when we press this button, that's exactly what we want. Now, it's not working here because it only works on the sign in. So now, when that function is, when this function is called, we're going to do some error handling. Make sure that our username and password that we have, that we're taking from the user, passes some initial checks. And we're going to need to add some things to our inputs. To make that happen, let's just clean this up a bit. Now our input, we need to create a state object, const username, set username, name, use state, it will be empty initially, and then password. Password. Cool. And we want our inputs to actually set and update these values. So we're going to pass both username, set username to our username. We're going to send both. We're going to call this value equals whatever the value is, which is going to be username. That's going to username. That. And then our set value. We're going to pass that. We're going to do exactly the same thing for our password, and then we're going to update the actual input object. Update that. Now we're going to go over to our input, and now we've got some new values. New param, sorry. Value and set value. Now we want to actually display whatever value we've set in our parent component, that value, and then when this text changes, we need to trigger this set value function. And it's pretty easy. Changed text, and it just gives us the actual text, whatever it is now. I'm going to go set value text. Pretty easy. And I'm going to go back here, and then when this on sign in is called, we're going to print out along with our on sign in the values that we have stored and make sure that that's working correctly. We'll go back here, we'll just refresh to make sure that we haven't broken anything. So when we go username, I'm going to type in hello. Oh, that does not seem to be working because when I'm typing, it's disappearing straight away. Now, what could be causing that? On change, not on changed. Little spelling mistake there. On change text. My bad. Refresh. Now when we start typing, there we go. It works. Sweet. Now we'll hit sign in. hello, bro. Sweet. It's doing what we want. We are successfully setting this username and password value on every keystroke, which is exactly what we want. Sweet. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we can add some error handling? I think that would be really, really nice. So what happens, for example, if there's nothing here and I hit sign in? Well, we want to catch that. We want to be able to indicate that this is, something's wrong visually. So we're going to create an error state for that. I'm going to just copy these over. I'm going to call this error username. Sorry. Yeah, we'll put it at the end. Username error. Much nicer. Password error. And then set username error. Copy that. Put that there. Sweet. Now we want to pass in the same way we pass the value and set value. We want to pass the error. Username error. Seems I made a spelling mistake up here. Yep. So error, username error, and then set error, set username error. And then we'll just add the same thing down here and change the names of these things. Save that. Sweet. Now, when are we going to set the error? And we needed to pass these errors because the error, we're going to display this little title here. If there's an error, we're going to replace this username with username something 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 error. And same thing with the password. If the password is changed, the password has some sort of error, then it's going to say password is blah 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 blah. Like it's going to say it right there. And we also pass the set error. The reason why we pass that is because once we start typing, we're going to remove that error altogether, and it's going to be set sort of fresh. So first thing we need to do is we need to detect an error. That's the first thing. Once we have an error, then we'll use what we have to style it. See, because at the moment, it receives an error, and it receives a set error, which it will need later. But we're not setting any errors yet. But so we'll do that now. So what might we want to detect? We want to check the username. Then we want to check the password. Now we want to to basically not continue if we detected some sort of change, some sort of error. So we'll figure out a good way to do that. Yeah. Now we'll get to our requests later, but for the moment we're going to basically test if it exists or not. If it's a non-null value, that's pretty much all we need to do. So we'll create a value that just says fail username, which is just a boolean, and we'll say it's true if username is a falsy value basically, and then if fail username, if that's true, then we're going to set username error to be some sort of text. Now, if it doesn't exist, we're just going to say username not provided. That seems pretty easy. And we'll basically do exactly the same thing for the password. Fail password. Password. Yep. Cool. Now, you might ask, why didn't we just break out here? Why, if there's an error, why do we need to check here? Like, why do we need to continue at all? And that's because if there's an error with one, if there's an error with both, we want to display both errors. So we need to basically do all the checks before we do any breaking out. That's why we created this intermediary value. And if any of those values, if any of those fail, so we go fail username or fail password, then we want to return out of this function. That's it. That's all we need to do for now. Now, to make sure that that's indeed working, we'll update our inputs so that instead of displaying the title, we'll display the title only if there's no error. So we'll say error. If error is, falsy. Sorry, if error is true, then we'll display the error. And if there's no error, then we'll display the title. So reload everything. Now we'll just hit sign in with nothing. So you see, username was not provided. If I provide something here, and then I hit sign in again, we are not resetting. So how can we do that? Okay, one way to do that is once we start typing again, if there's any error, then we will set error to basically empty again. So what that will look like, we reload. So if I create an error and then I start typing, the error is gone. I hit it again, and then as soon as I start typing, this password not provided will reset. That's exactly what we want. Now we also want to change the color. So what we can do here is we can say error. If there is an error, if the error is truthy, which means that it contains a string and not an empty string, or a null value or something like that, which it won't, but so if the error exists, then we'll give it a sort of a red color. Give this, give it a something like that. Now we'll reload it. Now we'll hit that. Boom! That's much clearer now. So when we start typing, and then that error disappears. Then we'll delete that. Error's back again. I reckon we should add a border as well. So border radius will go border width. Call that 1. Yeah, we've got a border. That's hideous color. So then we'll go border color. If there's an error, we'll say that we want the border color to be that same red, and if it's not, we don't want anything. We'll call it transparent. And then save that. Yeah, nice. And then we start typing, and then it goes away. How nice is that? That looks awesome. Now, if everything's okay, hello bro, that's fine. In this case, everything's fine, so we'll actually make our request, but we will have to add some stuff. We'll have to add some authentication to our database, our API before we do that. So we'll move on and we'll error check our sign in. So we'll do pretty much the same thing. Go to our sign in. We'll go. We've got a few things to do. So we'll just pretty much start from scratch. Let's go up here and we'll go function on sign up console.log and sign up. And sign up. And we will So here, we'll create the same sort of thing over here. So we've got username, and then we're going to have first name, set first name. Last name. Then we're going to have password. I didn't need to retype that password. Password. We'll call it password 1 because we're going to have 2 of them. Password 1, password 2. And then we're going to do the same thing for the errors, and we're just going to align this. It looks a bit nicer. We're going to align it. I like to align things. I'm just autistic about that sort of shit. Alright, do the same thing for all the errors. First name. First name. Last name. Last name. Align. You'll be happier if you do that. Password 1 error. Password 2. Password 1 error. 2. 2. And then, as I said, align it. Alrighty, now it's a lot, significantly more than 4, but just bear with me. And we need to add all of these things like we did before. So it'll take us a little bit of time. Space here, and then this is value equal username set value equals set user name, and then we need our error username error, and then set error set username error, and then we can just copy this, and then we can just go through the motions here and update all of these. So make sure we be very careful not to make any mistakes. We should be fine though. And then grab that. First name. Yeah. Alrighty, no, that one's is a lot more annoying. So on our sign up, now that we've said all that, we've already updated our input, so there's no need to mess with that anymore. Now on our on sign up, we need to actually do our our validation. So we can, let's have that at the bottom. And so if we go check username, check first name, check. So if there's no username, or we want to give a minimum length, so we want the username to be at least if it's less than 5 characters, then we're gonna class that as an error. We want to we need usernames to have a little bit greater length than that. And then we'll go set username error, and then we'll just say username must be greater or equal to 5 characters. Yeah, it's good enough. And then the first name, we'll do something similar, but we don't really care about the length so much. I mean, theoretically could have like a 1 or 2 character, I know surnames, for example, some people can have like a 2-letter surname. So we won't put restrictions on that. It just has to exist. So it has to be at least 1 character. So we'll go for first name, we'll lose that, and then we'll go first name was not provided. Same thing with the last name. Last name. Now we're going to something very similar. Password 1 has to exist. If it doesn't exist, or its length is less than 8, then we're going to consider that a fail. We want passwords that are at least 8 characters. At least. And then with this one, it'll basically just be if password 1 is not equal, if they don't match, then password 2 is rubbish because it just has to match the first one. Is not equal to password 2. Fail password 2. Passwords don't match. And then if any of them break out of the function, if there was any issue here, then we break out of the function. So we'll reload that. Hopefully we didn't make any mistakes. We did make a mistake. We need to import use state. Sweet. Now, oh, that is definitely a mistake. Yeah, that's why. See our set username. We're setting the username error on every single situation. That's If you caught that, you will have a place in history, my friend. You're going places. I was distracted. But I made a mistake. I own it. Alright, try that again. Sign up. Boom. Right, that makes sense. So, yep. Too short, and we didn't get a retype password because they did match. They were both null, both nothing. So technically that's true, and we can totally leave it in that sort of situation. So we can call this Nick. Nick. Cool dude, and we'll just call this password. Try again. It's got to be at least 5 characters. Nick. C. Nikki. I like Nikki. Nikki's good. Try again. Passwords don't match. Password. Yep. So our validation is working as expected. Now, one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the ability to create like hidden passwords. That's something that we will need to pass. So in our input, we can come up here and I'll pass another property. We'll call it secure. We won't call it. This is what it's called when we're going to set it on the text input. It's called secure text entry, and we're going to default that to false. So the majority of the time we're not going to want this, but sometimes we will. So just come up here and we'll just set that. Now in our sign up, we can come down to our password inputs and we can pass true and true. There we go. It updated for us automatically. Another thing I want to add, because I'm not a huge fan of it, is I want to remove auto capitalization. Auto capitalize none. And also autocomplete off. I want to turn that off as well. And I'll just reorder these so that they're alphabetical because I'm tismistic about that. As I said, cool. And then now, see, when I noticed that it auto capitalized things, but I don't necessarily want. So here I'm going to, it's not capitalizing anymore. Excellent. And the main problem with that is the password. So when I start typing the password, if it auto capitalizes, that's where it really gets annoying. Sweet, it's working exactly the way we want, and we've got these two absolutely amazing public-facing forms. Now, what we've got to do is we've got to switch over to our API for the first real time. We set it up earlier, but we're now going to actually add some authentication and create some users and all that kind of fun stuff so that we can actually create an account and then we can log in and then we can get a user session and all this kind of stuff. And then once we do that, we can check this. Then we can start filling out our actual logged in dashboard view, the funnest, most amazing of parts. So that's what we're going to do next.